evening and welcome to the Silicon Valley Entrepreneur, a series of conversations with startup companies and the investors that found them. I'm Chris Gill, President and CEO of SVAs, the Silicon Valley Association of Startup Entrepreneurs, the largest and fastest growing not-for-profit support organization for entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley. Tonight, delighted to have with us Anu Nigam, the new president of the Sand Hill Angels. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem.
Pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got involved with Sand Hill Angels, just as a start?
Yeah. So I am the Silicon Valley entrepreneur, just like everyone else. Went to Carnegie Mellon for engineering my undergrad. Came out here, Intel recruited me. Was there for a little over a year, and then got the startup bug, and I've been at it ever since. Someone I worked with recruited me into a startup that went through some upheaval, but eventually became a company called Sorrent, which was funded by Vinod Khosla and Kleiner Perkins. It was doing a telecom box back in the telecom days, pre-internet days. And I was, I think, a feisty little young guy who was at the age of 23 managing an ASIC chip effort, managing 10, 15 people, and leading, I mean, for a box effort, the chip was a very valuable thing. If it failed, things went wrong, it was bad. And I was there, so I had my sleeping bag in my cube, worked in the daytime, I was in meetings, running around, being sure everyone's doing stuff, then I'd do my own work at night. And surprisingly enough, the chip came back pretty much almost working. Had a couple small things here, but it worked really well, and I think it was part of the help make the success of the company. And Sorrent ended up getting sold to Cisco for like $6.9 billion back in the old days.
Wow.
And I got lucky again. I was there 2 years. There's some split of the company. A bunch of us left. Vinod funded us again, another company called Ciara. And Ciara was doing another telecom box, part of the lead engineering team there too. And the company got sold to Redback for $4.3 billion. So I was part of two of the largest, I think, private buyouts during the late 90s. And, I made my money. Trust me, the VCs made a lot more. Right. So I made my money, made a bunch before the dot-com boom, lost a bunch afterward, can't retire. This comes down from the foolishness of a 26-year-old kid trying to invest in the internet and not knowing any better. So I had to come back into it. So I took a year or two off, had some fun, traveled the world, fun stories. And then me and a couple of friends started another startup. I joined them and eventually became a company called High5.com, which is the third largest social network on the internet. And it's done really well. It's been funded by Moore Davidow. I think they put in $20 million. So it's doing good. It's going through ups and downs, just like all the social networks are. Then I went off and wanted to be the CEO of my own company. But I switched from engineering, chip design, and consumer internet. And I did a company called 411 Sync. It didn't do so well. We tried, experimented, did a lot of stuff for 2 years, didn't pan out. And now I'm starting my next company. It's called Buzzbox, which is trying to be the personal filter for the internet. And we're doing pretty good. Me and a couple of guys started it. We've been at it for a little while, and I'm in the entrepreneurial spirit. And on the other side, I've been doing a lot of angel investing. This is how I joined the Sand Hill Angels.
How did you start on the angel investing? Because it sounds like you've had a pretty active entrepreneurial side. How did you find the time and the interest to get into the angel side?
Well, I think when you made the money and you took some time off and you're trying to figure out what to do, it's just one of those things, like, I think Sand Hill Angels hit me too, is like the whole motto, at least I view it as, is entrepreneurs investing in entrepreneurs. When you've seen and been through it, you can invest in a lot of things, but you know what the entrepreneurial spirit's like. And investing in that just becomes part of the culture. It's Silicon Valley. You give back in various different ways, your time, your energy, your money. It just keeps the ecosystem going. And I think it's just fun. You see so many cool people, you get so much energy seeing what they're working on and getting excited in. And that's what happened. Actually, High5 was my second investment. The CEO I invested in, the same CEO Ramu invested in, he lost money, was doing High5. I put money back in again, and now was probably one of my biggest successes. And then you just kept on seeing interesting deals. You put a little money there, more money there, a little money here. And then you realize some of the things that you don't have time to see enough deals. You only see a certain amount of deals. And then you also realize I didn't have enough experience investing, and that's where an angel investing group is great. You have this network of people who all have their own networks bringing in deals. You learn a lot from everyone. You can invest in deals you may not know a lot about, but you know the people, and you see the diligence coming back and forth. And that's what made me join the Sand Hill Angels. They had a bunch of investments. Some didn't do so well. So I'm like, okay, I got to rethink my strategy, so let me learn some more and join some other people with the same thought process. That's where I joined the Sand Hill Angels. Okay,
so we're going to dig into this, because that's the topic for this evening, is the angel investing side. What's your assessment of the current investing landscape, both from the VC and the angel viewpoint? particularly bearing in mind its impact on the entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, to me, I think it's just always changing. How you get money, where you get money is changing. In the old days, if you go back to the 1990s, you would pitch and raise a big chunk of money from a VC, and that would be the model. Nowadays, you can do startups without any funding. You see a lot of mobile app companies, Facebook app companies, a couple guys that can do something aside and make money. Mm. You see there are more angels now too. I think it's become more open, that ideas all around the world and in the US, it's become a way as people have seen other angels make money from investments, like Ram Shriram and Google and stuff. We're like, okay, there is opportunity there. And then you've seen these angel groups pop up. There's so many angel groups around the country, I can't even imagine to list them all. And there's even an organization called the Angel Capital Association, being the parent group for them. And so all these angel groups around, everyone's learning from each other, sharing deals. So there's tons of ways to get money on top of VCs. And now you've seen micro VC funds, like what Dave McClure started. There's some members in our group, XG Ventures, there's Quest Ventures. These are all small, $10 to $20 million funds where they're investing in smaller deals. And the reason it's become is to do a startup and to get to a certain success requires less and less money.
Right.
I mean, the old days to do a website was hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now it's down to tens of thousands, if not less, depending on the complexity. So my opinion, there's always money there. You just got to keep spending time and effort, learn how to pitch, learn what milestones you need to get to, and be really crisp and clear. And the most important part is finding someone who your story resonates with, your company vision, because it will not resonate to everybody. But talking to many people, you'll learn something, and you'll learn and learn and learn, and it just makes your pitch better and better. Okay, so
given that the amount of venture capital that's been available through VCs has been cut in half in the last year, are angel groups which have historically invested very early on at the seed rounds, the idea, maybe a team that have got a prototype, has that investing model changed overall?
Yeah, I mean, yes. I mean, I would say yes, 100%. I think we, for example, have invested in bridge notes for Series B and C. And there's a company investing called 3Terra, which is doing incredible, has raised, I can't say the number, lots and lots of money, and not a VC has put money in. There are rich families and rich people around. There's family funds you can go to. There's money out there, but it all has different values and trade-offs. If you have the team that doesn't need the infrastructure or the parenting to watch out for the investment, you may not need that. But I think the VCs add this reality check a bit. Sometimes, for the worse or better, but it's a reality check of an investor writing a check, and there's more money behind it. So let me rephrase that. So as an entrepreneur, there's money out there.
Yep.
As an investor, a VC coming in is parenting and somebody watching out over you, being sure the investment is going the right way, and somebody with deeper pockets. And so that's where the relationship is. I think it's symbiotic. They want VCs are cut in half, but they're now looking for deals to be better and better. And so now I think it's an opportunity for angel groups to provide that funding for entrepreneurs to get further along to the point where VC funding is really ready.
Okay. So if we talk about Sandhill Angels, where you've just become president, what is the investment philosophy there?
So as I said, it's entrepreneurs investing in entrepreneurs. So we've been on the other side. We've seen what it's like to raise money. So our whole philosophy is like trying to be as entrepreneurial friendly too, yet understanding it's our own money. We are a nonprofit. Every member is volunteering. No one's getting paid to be there. But everyone's putting in their own money too. So it's not somebody doing something for some fund. It's either their family money, their personal money, or some sort of money there. Now, what we do is we mostly invest in IT and biotech. About 90% of our deals are in that area, IT and biotech, and 10% in some sort of technology product, a consumer product of sort. We're mostly all technology-based, and that helps because we are all technologists too. We're doing high-tech startups, so we can give value back to the entrepreneur. And we spend a lot of time mentoring. Some deals can take over a year. I think you had Liftopia come. They spent a year through our cycle of us watching them and giving advice and spending time before they got funding. The other big thing we do is we create an LLC to invest, so all our members pool together their money to one entity and one person who will contact you and interact with you. So you don't have 10, 20 people you're trying to juggle and manage. The advantage of the LLC too is that one entity, if you have follow-on funding, we can access all the other members for more money. It's not just the members who put in initially in the LLC. So we have ways to add more capital later. And it just makes things cleaner too. We have more money put in as one structure and one entity. Now our philosophy is just finding good deals. I mean, and after a while, you see it. It's so funny. I've been to so many pitches and stuff. We have monthly screening meetings, phone screenings, then personal screenings, and then pitches to the dinner meetings. So we have about 60 a month that come to the wire. We talk about them on the phone. We bring 6 to a screening meeting. The 6 present, and from there we select 2 to 3 to a dinner meeting, where the members there see the deals. If there's a minimum of $100K interest from the members' soft circle, the deal will move forward and more diligence will be done, and then term sheets and stuff are negotiated and money is exchanged. If there isn't enough for 100K, the deal's 90% likely just said, hey, thank you very much. There wasn't enough interest. Our members don't see enough time being spent. But then the point is individual members can write their own checks. So then there's ways to get small amounts of money that way.
Okay.
And we partner a lot. So when you're talking about this new environment, we partner with VC funds, we partner with angel groups, individual angels. It's just become this much more collaborative environment where everyone's seeing deals and sharing deals and writing checks for things that are interesting.
I was going to ask you about that because Sandhill is one of only several angel funds in Silicon Valley. There's the Band of Angels, the Angels Forum, Keiretsu Forum, North Coast Angels.
There's many of them. Keep going down.
Yes, there's a whole list of them. And you work with them.
We exchanged deals. We just did a deal, I think, last month or two called Cabulous, where I think it was the Band of Angels, the Angels Forum, us, and I think all of us put money in. So there's always that point where deals are shared back and forth. And in the end, I think the entrepreneur has to find people they feel comfortable with. That's the advantage of having all these different groups. You may not resonate, your story may not resonate with one group, but there's another group to go to.
Okay.
So I think it just helps everyone out. And we do deals with angel groups and angels in other parts of the country too. So it helps that way, yeah.
How does that come about?
So it's usually through the network. Someone says another deal, hey, I know this person in this town, he's put money to this deal, they want to come here. And they want a Silicon Valley presence too. If they're like one company's content now, they're in DC, which is great. But having people who invest in Silicon Valley, we see stuff, talking on the phone, we give advice and ideas. And he's actually coming out to pitch Sandhill, and I've done a bunch of intros, and they're going to get into a couple of VC funds to present there.
Okay.
So it in some ways, I think eventually you'll see a little hierarchy come out where certain funds will bubble to the top, certain funds will fund local deals. It just makes sense for people to fund deals closer to them, but then also fund later stage deals from people they know around the country and the world.
So let's say that I'm an entrepreneur, I've got something that's to do with an area that you know about, the web, telecom, anything like that, and I'm looking for $500,000. That's obviously right in the angel's pocket. Is $5 million outside of the area?
The dollar amount?
Yeah.
We invest?
Yeah.
I mean, we've fallen in rounds that are over $1 million plus. So we'll just take a small portion of the bigger chunk. If you're telling us you're raising $5 million, I would say go raise $3.5 million at least from somebody else, and then come back to us if you need to fill up the rest of the round. We would look at it. Okay. We wouldn't be the early ones because we just don't know if you're going to fill the $5 million. If you tell us even $1 million, we'll look at it a bit. 700,000.
So anything up to $1 million is worth coming to an angel group for.
I think so, because most angel groups will put in a couple $100,000 more. Some of the angel groups will write bigger checks, some less, and it depends on the deal and what stage the deal's at and how comfortable people are at.
Okay. So how do I, as that fresh entrepreneur, I've come from outside the valley, I'm not super well connected in here, how do I get into Sandhill Angels or any of the other angel groups?
You join S-Base. So no, that's my point. Silicon Valley is about networking. You got to go to events, you got to go meet people, and you got to talk. And my advice to all entrepreneurs, I was on a panel a couple of months ago with Astia too, and I told them straight up, the first thing an entrepreneur should do is build an advisory board. 5, 6, 7 people they know. People they know that know them, people in the industry, luminaries, people who are smart. Because as they get to, and give them advisory roles, the way I say is 0.1% for 2 years for 1 hour a month. That's the usual norm. And the advantage there is they get to learn about you, and they will do intros too for you if they think you're interesting and you have something. And for me too, as an investor, if I see someone on an advisory board forward me something, like, okay, this guy spent some time, it's worthwhile. And the other way is just talking to people and it's something resonating. Go to events, talk to someone, tell me your story, and it may resonate. I'd say send us deals on the wire over. You can submit to sandhillangels.com. It is a harder deal. You have to really do a good sell in that text and the wording. although we see so many deals come in, it's hard for us to juggle, and it's always easier for us to get a deal from a member. But we do fund deals that just came cold over the wire.
Right, but the ideal thing is to get a warm introduction from somebody that knows the company, knows you, and says, this is an interesting deal, you should take a look at it.
100%. I mean, the classic example I tell is get somebody who's actually worked with you and or invested in you before, or was your boss even, because that shows some validity. If they're willing to they've worked with you, they're putting their neck on the line, that shows something.
Okay. Talk a little bit about the process. You mentioned it a little bit. So from the first sending in of your info, what's the process that goes through, and how long could it take before you actually get money in your not in your pocket, but in your bank account?
No, and the way I tell all entrepreneurs, angel groups and even individual angels and everyone takes time. There is no you meet them, you get a check right away. I will guarantee you, even when Google got that check written by Andy Bechtolsheim, whatever, right there was somebody, he's heard about it, heard enough about it, and there was certain other factors. Most of the times it takes months, just because it takes time. So our process is, again, it comes over the wire on the internet. We have a deal management system you submit your deal to. So, and we review all the deals from the previous month, so it's somebody's timing. The second Thursday a month, we have a phone call. We review those 60 deals. If your deal's been put in a week before at least, if someone may have rated it, reviewed it, we'll look at it a little bit. Then after that, in the phone call, at the end of the month, we'll take the screening meetings at the end of the month, so 6 deals from the phone call brought into the end of the month, and those 6, that's a 3-week window right there. And if you pass the screening meeting, come to the dinner meeting, that's the following second Thursday. So it's a 1-month process from the phone call to the dinner meeting.
Okay.
And you can find out no in three of those places very quickly in a month. You know, if you don't get anything, a screening call, nothing, screening meeting, or the dinner meeting. If you get past the dinner meeting, then those members who are investing in you will need to do diligence. And it really depends on what you presented and where you're at. And most of the time, it can take, I'd say, a month to 2 months plus to actually close the point where you close the deal. It depends how diligent you are, how much information you give us, how open you are, and how comfortable you feel with the deal. And sometimes market economics. If you have your rounds closing in 2 weeks and everything looks great, we'll have to move quicker. We do have a separate thing called a fast track deal, which is if you know a member and the deal is worthwhile, it's a member beware thing. You can just bypass the whole process. And an email sent to the membership, as much information as you give there, it's shared with everyone, and we'll have a random night where members can come and hear about the deal. It's unknown what's going to happen. It's not gone through any vetting. It's a more buyer beware. It's a little different, but for some deals, it does help.
Okay, but typically, if you're a first-time entrepreneur, either from inside the valley or outside the valley, you haven't got a particularly good network, you're going to take several months to build the network, to give you the contact, to be able to get to the various angel groups. Then it's going to take you at least a month to go through an initial screening. Then probably, if you've gone through all that and everything's good, to actually circle the money and get the checks written and into the RC, probably a further 2 months.
No, 100%, yeah.
So probably...
I mean, from base idea, but I mean, the way most people do at startups, when you say a couple of months, I mean, I think most people who start a company just don't move out to Silicon Valley. They're here in a big company, they're working somewhere else, they have an idea they've been tinkering with. My advice is don't quit your day job, keep your day job and work at night with a couple of friends. Come up with as much as you can before you even leave your company. So that whole part of networking, at that point you've asked some people for advice, why should you quit your day job if you don't know if it's worthwhile? I say go do some research, talk to people, network, ask them if they've seen companies, do research on the internet. So all that research is being done, which is what any entrepreneur should do, is figure out the landscape, talk to smart people, see if it's interesting or not, and understand what you need to get done for people to remove risk. And that's the biggest thing from an investor. What risk have you removed? Do you have a product? Do you have users? Where are you at? And that's what happens, I think, in investing. There's 4 or 5 things you invest in. One is just the core team. No idea. And we just did that last summer. We invested a couple guys who left Yahoo, started a company called XGraph. Really smart PhD guys who've been doing social targeting, and smart team. It was just an idea. That's all it was. But you get a certain valuation and so on based on that. How much money you can raise and your experience will get a certain valuation. The next thing is a product. If you show me a product, I like it, it's a market I understand, I can see why people use it, then it may resonate to more of an audience and your valuation will be higher. The other one would be, as you go further, is you have a product that's out and you have users using it. You have a iPhone app with 10,000 users using it, or some unique users at your website.
Right.
That to me says, well, I mean, I understand the product, but there's a bunch of people using it, and therefore there's something that I don't understand, but it may be worthwhile. And the last one is probably revenue. You figure out how to make money from this, and the further you on revenue to profitability. All these 5 steps are different stages, I think, major stages for investors to look at. And the more risk you removed, and the more likely you're going to get a check, and for a higher valuation.
Okay, let's take up the topic of revenue, because this comes up a lot with the entrepreneurs that we see at S-Phase. Frequently, they don't have a business model. They are looking to do something that they'll offer for free to a wide audience, and they figure if they get enough eyeballs coming to it, they can get a Twitter-type valuation happening there. What's your view on that sort of thing?
I think it depends on you.
Okay.
If they think you're smart and they think you can figure it out, you can get funding. But the point is, if you have rapid growth, they'll bet on the growth, and they'll figure it out. If you don't have any users and you say you're going to get users, you just have a product, I'm going to get users and then I'm going to figure out money, you have issues. I think the Stephen Blank, I think I love his stuff. I don't know if you read
Yes,
the 4 Steps to Epiphany, the whole thing. He has his 4 steps to customer development. The first 2 steps is figuring out a business model. Do you solve a problem, and is it something that can be paying enough money and generating a way to make money and be a profitable business? Especially in this environment where money is tighter. If you're in the 1990, 99 stage, forget that whole model. He even says it. He says, take his book, toss it out the window, and just go raise money on an idea.
Yeah.
Nowadays, the bar is different. And the bar may change. And that's my point. It's constantly changing. If a bunch of IPOs happen in 2010, like people predict, for all we know, the bar may get lower. It all depends where it goes. But to those entrepreneurs, if they've never done it before, haven't worked at a big company where they have a proven track record and say they're going to do certain things, people are going to question you. And then you have to, again, you have risk and questions. And do they believe you? Have you done enough research?
Okay.
So the further risk, the more users you have, then then you have revenue risk. Right now you have acquiring user risk and revenue risk.
So the more customer contact, the more customer validation you can get with the product or the service, whatever it is that you've got, the risk comes down, the valuation goes up, everything is looking more rosy as you go further forward.
It always happens. The more risk you move. That's one thing I think the biggest complaint I have is, for better or for worse, everyone thinks some technology is what people want. And I mean, even Google is technology, but they spent so much in the user interface and thought to a simple homepage. And that's one of the things that become more and more prevalent right now in the consumer internet space. And technology risk, remove it. I don't buy into it. It's customer risk. Do you have something that solves a customer problem? They want to come back. And that's the biggest thing. Technology risk is biotech, where you have some molecule and 10 years of R&D. There's technology risk. All this idea of some cool technology for consumer internet, get it out of the door.
Okay.
It's more, do you understand the user, the user interface, user experience, and is it something that solves a problem for a user?
Okay. Now, you mentioned that Sandhill does life science investing, but is it actually on the biotech side?
It does basically devices and some biotech deals. Like we did a deal called Vaxart, which was a pill for delivering vaccines. So we don't do straight pharma deals, like pharmaceuticals.
Okay.
And we do more biotech and services kind of related around that.
Okay, understood.
And we've done deals like of drugs, but they've gone through Series A, phase 1 testing, and we're helping some funding get to phase 2, which then will most probably mean it will get acquired.
All right. Digging into it a little bit deeper now, what type of instruments, what type of investment instruments does Sandhill Angel use? Is it convertible notes? Is it convertible shares?
I'd say 90% likely we prefer a priced round.
Okay.
It makes sense for the risk. I think, and for any investor, it means there's a board member in there watching over, parenting over the people. It's not, the convertible note doesn't give a board seat.
Okay.
So all of a sudden it's gone. And we've done deals where there hasn't been a cap on the convertible note. It's taken 2 years, and next thing you know, we didn't get enough convertible percentage back of warrant coverage to justify the risks. So the only time I think I like to say, I can't speak for all the members, that's the point of an angel group. Every member has their own threshold and value. So for some members, it may resonate more. But for us, I mean, for me personally, I think if it's just financing risk, you've gotten something going, you're looking to raise some money from a VC fund. Looks like you have some chances, but you have a bunch of risks because you're running out of cash. You want something better in your books before you go out to go raise VC money.
Okay, and so that's generally with the preferred type of shares that typically VCs use. And you also Sandhill also takes a board seat.
It will vary. I mean, I think the round should take a board seat.
Okay.
And then basically whoever puts in the most money or can provide the most value back, that should be it's negotiated in the term sheet.
Okay.
So usually it's the person putting the most money, because the Series A's will vote for the board member.
Okay.
And usually it's the person putting in the most money.
All right. Very briefly, because we've only got a minute or so left, but it's again a question that entrepreneurs ask a lot. How do you value a round? Is there a process that you can talk about at all?
I mean, I think after a while it's just experience and just seeing enough deals and seeing what the market's giving to. And that's what it is. It's all market economy. If you can get a higher valuation somewhere else, you can get it. Go for it. That's market economy, right? It's a marketplace. But I think in the end, most deals get a valuation from $1.5 million to $2.5 million. It's gotten low to 500,000, 600,000 for some of these app companies to hire up. I think app companies have concerns about exits. Who's going to buy you and for how much? There's no proven track record. So valuations across the board. I think in general, 1.5 to 2, 2.5 is like the average. If you have some technology, a product. And I said a lot of this depends on these factors. Where are you in that cycle?
Yep.
And what is your background experience? If you're two guys out of college who doesn't have an exact idea and just is out here, your valuation will be $500,000.
Okay.
So.
Anu, thank you very much for your time, and congratulations on being president of Sandhill Angels. Unfortunately, we're out of time.
No problem. It's great.
So,
thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, and good night from Silicon Valley Entrepreneur. Look forward to seeing you again next month.
Thank you.